Everybody, please give it up for sweet Cindy.
I think I'm too short. Better, right?
Yeah.
My story starts when I was 57 years old. And my kids were with me, my son James and my daughter-in-law Amy, and my daughter Molly, and her fiance Sebastian. And we were celebrating, like popping champagne celebrating, right? Full of joy. And 57 is kind of a weird birthday for that kind of big celebration, right? But it wasn't for me, because I'd hit the 5-year mark. I see the nods. At the 5-year mark is when you know you're out of the woods, right? You see, 5 years earlier, I'd had a full-on street fight with breast cancer. I had an aggressive tumor that needed a lot of chemo. And so I started my chemo treatments and, got bald. And in the middle of chemo, I also developed a severe allergic reaction. And it was a bright red rash from the top of my head down to my ankles. And I had to put ice packs on my body to stop the itching. And then my body started to swell from my ankles all the way up to the top of my bald head. So I kind of look like the Pillsbury Doughboy, only with a really putrid looking red rash. And my oncologist said, Cindy, I've never seen anything like this in my 20 years. And we had to stop chemo because the chemo was trying to kill me. And not the cancer. So you see, when you get to the 5-year mark after not getting the full treatment after having breast cancer, it really was a champagne-worthy moment. We were relieved. Then about 6 months later, I went in for my regular mammogram, and if you've had breast cancer or know someone who does, you have a lot of mammograms, one every couple of months. I'd done this a lot over the 5 years, and so, I've passed my 5-year mark. I go in feeling pretty confident. I kept put on my pink robe. I've got all my belongings in a drawstring bag. This is what they give you to put all your stuff in, plastic bag. And so I'm sitting in the waiting, I had my mammogram, I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I'm watching other women come and put their pink robe on, have their mammogram, and get dressed and go home. And come and have their mammogram and go home. And come and go. And I was still there. So I knew I was in trouble. And eventually the nurse came out and said, they saw something on your mammogram. And then I found out the cancer was back. And I was really scared and sad. And I was going to have major surgery. And my children don't live nearby, so my daughter and Sebastian, Molly and Sebastian flew in from New York, and James and Amy flew in from Atlanta to be with me during the surgery, major surgery. And I remember my son putting his arm around my shoulder and saying, "We got you, Mama, we got you." And in my life, my dad's 86 years old. I was just talking about it back there. My dad's 86 years old. And every time I say, "Hey, Pop, you need anything?" he says, "Not a thing, not a thing." And that's how I was raised. I don't need anything. I have everything I need. After the surgery, my daughter looks at me and says, "Mama, do you need anything?" I said, "I do. I need some help. The kids needed to fly back. They'd been with me for a while, like sleeping by my side. And I needed some help." So my daughter got on the phone and mobilized my network, my friends, my team at work, my neighbors, my church community, and boy, did they show up with help. They brought bags of groceries and home-cooked meals and gift baskets and showered me with cards. And they mowed my grass. And they drove me to appointments from Dayton to Columbus and back. And they drove my kids to the airport in Columbus. And I had all the help I needed. It was a beautiful thing, and I felt a little less scared and a little less sad. It was Thanksgiving time, and my family was all back together. My parents were there, my kids were there, and they were in the kitchen preparing some fabulous meal, and I got the call from my oncologist. And I was scared again. And the oncologist says, "Cindy, we got it all." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he said, "No more chemo, no radiation, we've gotten all the cancer." So I, of course, shouted it out to my house, "I'm gonna be fine. They got it all." And my whole house exhaled for the first time in a long time. Then in March, I turned 60. Right? And so that was big. So a big birthday, and birthdays are important to me. So I flew to New York to hang out with Molly and Sebastian. And we had great food and popped champagne. Had a fabulous time. And Molly looked at me and said, "Mama, you need anything?"